and independent states, and that all political connection between them and the country of Great Britain is, and ever right ought to be, totally dissolved.
New Hampshire? New Hampshire votes yes. Rhode Island?
Rhode Island votes yes.
Massachusetts?
Massachusetts votes yes.
New York?
New York has yet to receive new instructions from its constituent assembly. We therefore respectfully abstain.
Connecticut?
Connecticut votes yes.
New Jersey?
New Jersey votes yes.
Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania votes yes.
Delaware?
Delaware votes yes.
Virginia votes yes.
Maryland?
Maryland votes yes.
North Carolina?
North Carolina votes yes.
South Carolina?
South Carolina votes yes.
Georgia?
Georgia votes yes.
The vote stands 12 for independence, none against, with one abstention. Resolution carries.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Bob, and welcome to Vineyard Church Southwest. That was obviously the reenactment of the ratifying of the Declaration of Independence. And as you notice there at the end, you know what, that music over there is really distracting. Can you tell them to turn down just a little bit? We're having a great time over there. It's easily distracted. But as you notice that they weren't celebrating. It was probably the most important piece of legislature ever passed through the United States. But they weren't celebrating. Well, why is that? Why weren't they high-fiving each other? Other than the fact they didn't high-five back then. But they weren't hollering in. They were very somber. Well, they were somber because they knew that a long struggle was ahead of them. That when they signed the Declaration of Independence, that they were signing their death warrant. They would be considered treasonous and traitors by the British Empire. This is what John Adams says. He says, I am well aware of the toil and blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration. In John Hancock, we have a picture of his signature right there. John Hancock says, there, John, speaking of King John, can read my name without his spectacles. And he now made double the reward of 500 pounds on my head. The elder person there, Stephen Hopkins, said, my hands tremble, not because of fear, because of old age. It's my hands tremble, but my heart does not. Benjamin Franklin said, we must be unanimous. Yes, we must all hang together, or most assuredly, we shall hang separately. Yes. You've heard that one, right? Charles Carroll was the most wealthy man in the colonies. And this is what made the American Revolution so different than so many other revolutions. So many revolutions are the people who are poor and downtrodden, wanting to rise up for economic advantage, economic opportunity. But Charles Carroll was the most wealthy man in the colonies. He had nothing to gain financially by declaring war on Great Britain. When they asked him if he would sign a declaration, he said, most assuredly, I will sign it. So Wednesday will be the 236th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so I thought this would be appropriate to have a video of that being read. So you want to go ahead and play that? This is from the same movie, actually.
In the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, and that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain what's that word there?
Unalienable.
With certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is in the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new governments. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress, and in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
God save our American states!
God save our American states!
Quite a document, isn't it? That was a reenactment of the reading of the Declaration of Independence on July 8, 1776 in Philadelphia. Well, my opinion, my humble opinion, is that this is the greatest country in the world, the greatest country ever, and I think maybe some of you might agree with me on that. But I ask, why is this country so great? I think there's many reasons for that, but I think certainly one reason is the influence of the church and the influence. Is that thunder? Hey, it's appropriate, right? The influence of the church, the influence of the Bible in the founding of this country. Now, that's not to say that every founding father was a Christian, because that's just not true. They weren't. Or that every person who signed the Declaration of Independence was a Christian, because some were not. But many were. And the influence of the church on this country was very strong. Especially by a group of people that sometimes we don't hear about being influential. It's called the Puritans. Anybody ever hear of the Puritans? When you think of a Puritan, what do you think about? Maybe someone who doesn't smile much, and opposed to other people who might smile. I don't know. Being very harsh, maybe, or very strict, very legalistic. Well, the idea of Puritan means to purify, and they set out to purify the Church of England. And it is true that only the most extreme were the ones who came over to this country to have religious freedom. But sometimes I think the Puritans get a bad rap. I mean, they were pretty strict, and they definitely had some strong views, but they've been considered everything from killjoys to sexually repressed. But if you look at the Puritans, you'll see that the average Puritan family had between 12 and 20 children. I'm not sure how sexually repressed you can be and have 12 to 20 children. And even though they were bitterly opposed to drunkenness and carousing, one of the crafts that they perfected was the making of rum. They were known as the rum makers of the colonies. Now here's a picture of Cotton Mather right here, a very famous Puritan. Cotton Mather was consumed with preaching the gospel. I like that look. I'm thinking maybe that look for Mike when he leads worship. You think that would be a good look for him? Yeah. Okay, got the powdered wig and the collar. The sleeves might get in the way of guitar playing, but we can do something about that. But it's Cotton Mather. Story about Cotton Mather. When they would bring pirates into Boston, and piracy was a capital offense, and they'd bring him in, put him in jail, then they'd hang him. Well, Cotton Mather would go to the jail cell, and he would plead with them to repent. And then he would also walk along beside them as they were walking to the gallows, pleading with them to repent and to ask God to forgive them for their sins. And sometimes he'd get to the point where he'd get a ladder and he'd crawl up on the gallows. And he'd be there to the very last moment this pirate would drop, asking him and begging him to ask for forgiveness. And there's a story that the pirate wouldn't do it. Some of them were pretty stubborn. They wouldn't repent. And so the gallows dropped and the rope broke. And the pirate survived. So the second time around, he was repentant. I guess he just had to have that ultimate scare in his life. But Cotton Mather was quite the guy. But the Puritans, they had these values that they held quite dearly. And these values came out of their faith. Their first value was that men were equal. Now that was pretty radical stuff. They came out of a society where there were very sharp and distinct class distinctions. Now, the women were going to have to wait a little bit for equality, but the Puritans, they were on the right road. They believed that every man was created equal. Well, I think I've heard that somewhere. In the Declaration of Independence, actually. They believed that every person should contribute to society. They believed that every person should have a voice in the community. And because every person was to have a voice, every child was to be educated. Kind of sounds like something familiar, doesn't it? And in their churches were congregational, which meant that every male, again, women, you're going to have to wait for a few hundred years, but they were on the right track. They weren't perfect. Every male had a voice. Every male had a vote. So in 1776, when this great experiment in democracy took place in this country, well, the Puritans had been doing democracy in their communities and in their churches for like 150 years. So it's something that people were familiar with. Now, not every person in the States was a Puritan, but they understood this type of agreement, of social agreement among people, of democracy. I don't want to make a political foreign policy statement, but it's a lot easier than going to a tribal nation and try to institute democracy, but they don't understand it. And they have a really